Hey folks, welcome back to another Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Aberration, which is brought to you by Ghostfire Gaming. It's for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, and games generally run about 60 to 90 minutes. Step into a world veiled in darkness, where shadows and aberrations lurk, the sanctuary of your village teeters on the brink of oblivion, and in this perilous hour, you stand as its last defense. Aberration offers a thrilling cooperative tower defense experience. In this harrowing blend of horror and survival, you will find worker placement, bag building, and asymmetric player powers. Shadow and light intertwine in a fog of war mechanic that shrouds the truth and conceals lurking terrors. As the tainted force succumbs to the influence of the great beast, each game unveils a unique and corrupted landscape, engulfing the map as you play, adding tension and terror to every moment. But beware, for the force's very essence transforms, as do players and enemies alike, ascending towards newfound powers, but at what cost? Join forces with veteran game designer Peter Lee, who you know from Lords of Waterdeep, Horrified, and Tyrants of the Underdark, as he summons you into this dark fantasy realm. In the face of the unfolding nightmare, can you survive the night? So Aberration is Ghostfire Games, their very first intro into the board game world, but they have a lot of experience in gaming. Their RPG world, Grim Hollow, is where this game is set. Lots of interesting aspects around this one. Bag building, worker placement, really done a fantastic job with this first board game, and how you feel the pressure as the walls, so to say, close in from the creatures encroaching towards the middle of the board and giving you less and less room to work with. But you have some really unique characters, so let's start there. So each hero that you'll be playing in this game is made up of 3 separate boards. You have your hero board, you have a class board, and in the middle, you have your upgrade board. This is your abilities, defining the capabilities of your hero. And there are 4 different abilities, each represented by a particular color. So first we have Intellect, which is blue, reflects your hero's intelligence and quick thinking, which I really like. The ability determines the number of ability chips your hero draws during your turn and the amount of damage your traps deal. Intellect actions involve drawing item cards, placing traps, and manipulating monsters. And then we have Red, which represents Strength, your raw physical might. This ability determines the amount of damage you inflict when you go into melee combat. Strength actions involve engaging in close combat and unleashing devastating blows upon your foes. Green represents your speed, measures your hero's physical agility and quickness, impacting both movement and range damage. Speed actions involve swift movement across the board and inflicting deadly attacks from a distance. And finally, we have Yellow, which is your command, your hero's leadership capabilities this represents. This ability determines the amount of damage your village actions deal. Command actions involve assigning villagers and supporting the other heroes in the village. And the number on the far right represents the level of that particular skill. And through the course of the game, you're going to be getting experience, which is the purple stars. You can spin those to remove one of these tokens from your line on that particular skill to start to level it up. And what's nice is that those then will get added to your bag when you pull tokens from the bag on your turn, giving you more options and more tokens potentially that you can get, giving you maybe those devastating blows that you're looking for. So experience is key to getting those bigger and better, so to say. And then on the far right of that board is another type of level up. So you'll see that your class board, and all the class boards are going to work very differently. This one is the Monster Hunter because I really like this one, and the different abilities here, but there's some locked symbols. So you can unlock those abilities based on the color. Again, you'll mark it off on this upgrade board when you do upgrade it, giving you additional abilities. Now we're not going to do a deep dive into all these different abilities because there's so many, and this video would just go on and on. But just know that these different abilities are going to really aid your character from this class board. And again, when you pull the tokens from the bag on your turn, you're going to be able to spin those tokens, the colored tokens, in order to do the various actions. And there's so many possibilities about how you use those and move around the board. And a closer look at your class board. Now on the back side, give you some information about the type of class that you're playing and some setup instructions and what kind of level they are, just as the ease of play. But on the other side, obviously, is all the different abilities, and they all pretty much correspond to what you think. Like Red is going to be mostly for attacking, but on the side of these boards is one of the key things of this game. You have your aberration track. Now it kind of acts as your health. And you don't really get eliminated in this game. Well, you can be in a position where it will cause you to lose the game, but the thing is that on this track, you will be taking damage. When you take damage from monsters, you move up this track. If you pull a black token from your bag, you're going to be moving up this track. And once you reach the top, then you're going to be drawing one of these aberration cards. Now, that's not so bad in itself because the track will reset, but you get too many of these cards, it can cause you to lose the game. But not only that, as you get these, it does augment your abilities, giving you more options, more things you can do in your turn. So it's not all bad to get these cards, but you have to manage how many you have very carefully. Now, your main character board has some interesting things as well. This is where you'll be discarding tokens after you take the action and use them. And once you run out of tokens in your bag, then you'll refill it with everything in the discard on your character board. Character boards also have a special unique ability just to you, as well as a way to hold actions. So typically you're going to spin them all. I don't know why you wouldn't generally, but maybe you want to save up and do something bigger later. You can take one of those action tokens and place it here to hold for later use, which is really nice. So these character boards combined with those class boards are really going to mix up and change how you play each time. So there's three other main boards here. You have the village board, you have the great beast, and your main board that you'll be doing everything in. Now, the village board is going to show what your basic worker placement spots are for your villagers. You know, things like fortify and light fires or attack. They're all going to be listed here. And again, you're going to be using your different types of tokens in order to invoke these things like your command tokens to use those workers and do various things to help you against the oncoming hordes and so forth. You're also going to see two tracks on this board, on the village board. You're going to see survival and fear. Now, fear, if that reaches its maximum, you lose the game. And there's multiple ways fear can move up the track, like if a villager is slain, it will move up. If one of your vantage points out on your map is cut off by influence, influence is a growing influence of the great beast to move along the map. And if they cut off the routes to one of your vantage points, you're going to get fear based on that as well. So lots of different ways for the fear marker to move up. But you also have your survival. If that reaches the very end, then you're going to win the game. So it's definitely this interesting back and forth tug of war between those two different tracks, trying to win and not lose the game. Now, the village board also has objective cards and item cards. Item cards are going to augment your characters and allow you more options and abilities as you use them. And a lot of times they're one-off, so use it once and discard it. But these objectives is one of the ways that you're going to get survival points. If you fulfill one of those objectives, then you get survival points. And also back to your vantage points if you complete one of those, and they're all very clear. So you move next to or adjacent to one of these and it'll show you what the cost is. And you typically are spending the tokens from your bag in order to do these things. You'll get several benefits from completing one of these, and one is getting up the survival track. So you want to unlock these and get all the benefits for sure, because you will probably be losing them through the game. But if you can flip them over, they become another worker placement spot, give you more options for your villagers out in the world. And then we have the Great Beast board. This represents the monsters. Obviously, they get a turn every round of the game. And there's several different monsters in play here. You'll see in this particular setup that we have 1 through 5, and 2 of them are boss level monsters that are really difficult to deal with. But the others are kind of horde level monsters, and there'll be multiple of those on the board when you're actually engaging and fighting with them. How do those get on the board? We'll take a look at that in a minute. But these monsters can level up through the course of the game. Currently they're at a level 4, but they can level up even further beyond that. And a lot of times the scenario will have you set up cards in a various manner in the way of a level of monsters based on player count and so forth. But this board also houses the aberration cards. Remember those? Your character can be affected by those when you run out of health, and it will get reset, like I said. But those cards give you special abilities. And then we have the Great Monster deck. So that deck also acts as kind of a timer to the game. So this deck will do various things. It will level up monsters. It will add more monsters to the main board, which do come out in the way of shadows. So these shadow tokens appear on the board, and you'll see that you won't really know what monsters lie there. So if you can get one of your characters next to or adjacent to these, you can reveal them. but there also is fire on the board, which will reveal who they are as well. You're going to be flipping them over, showing which monster to put in play. Also, there may be keywords, and on the back of your reference card will show several keywords and how those engage with what you're doing. But I love the shadow effect, like you really don't know what monsters are coming out, what is coming up next, and what you're going to have to deal with. So each round of the game really consists of 3 phases. First is the villager phase. Now, any villagers that were in worker placement spots in the previous round and were activated, then you regroup them, basically pulling them back to the center village. Not the ones out in the world, just the ones that were used in the center village to attack or whatever you're doing. Now, then it's the heroes. The heroes get their turn, and based on your intellect, you'll pull that many number of tokens from the bag and then take those various actions trying to stop the oncoming monsters. Again, there's going to be very different for all the players, how and what you use based on what your class abilities are. But again, these are going to allow you to basically attack monsters and do all kinds of various effects using the villagers to attack, and also use those worker placement spots to do various things around the world and in the center village. So you can obviously use your speed to move your character around the board as well. Try to unlock those vantage points. So many possibilities to do on your turn. Again, there's just lots of things going on you have to keep in mind, and truly working together with your fellow players to stop the monsters. And it's important to note that at the end of every hero's turn, you will get another experience point, and that's one of the things you're going to be spending on your turn. So many different options in your turn and what to do. So using those experiences in order to level up and upgrade your character is key, absolutely key to doing many things in the game. And then it's time for the monsters to go, or the monster board to activate. First thing that happens is all the shadow monsters and monsters on the board are going to move ever closer to the center of the board. And then you're going to draw one of the monster cards. First thing you're looking at is the top. The number is 5 in this case. He levels up. Yes, the main monster levels up. And then it says advance 2 enemies. So 2 more enemies will move in. Sometimes you'll put more influence out on the board. It'll say in the east region or something, you're going to place influence. Influence is key to know about, because once it gets put out, those areas of the board are now locked off from you. So it could cut off a quick route to somewhere as well as taking out some of your vantage points, again causing more fear. I mean, that's the whole goal of the monster, is to cause more fear as they move in ever closer, moving their track up and winning the game, causing you, the heroes, to lose. And then finally, more shadow monsters are going to come out, and that'll move clockwise around the board based on the compass location. Now, one of the great things about creating igniting fires out on the board is when influence comes across fire, it does basically cancel each other out. So the fire goes out and the influence does not take effect out on the board. So having lots of fire out there is one of the key things. It will also reveal the shadow monsters that are coming to attack you, who's actually out there and what they're going to be doing. And you know, we didn't go into the intricacies of how a battle works, but you're going to be rolling dice based on whatever your level is. And what I really like about like your strength level is the fact that some of those abilities will just allow you to do that level of damage. So leveling up that for me was key right away. I definitely went for that one using my experience and so forth, because you just do automatic damage to enemies, and enemy cards will show how much damage they can take and so forth. There's markers for that when you're battling out on the board, but just know that there's several amount of dice rolls and things determining when you're doing range. There's monsters that you can only attack in range, like the bats and various things, and basically wherever you are on a particular compass section of a board just means that you can see all those areas. So I like that aspect as well. It's just so many options, how you use your characters, how you best work together, and how you deal with the fear, the monsters moving in, because that is key. You definitely have that time pressure as they move in. So in the end, the game comes down to a race. How fast can you move up your survival level before the fear level gets to its maximum? And again, there's so many different ways for both those tracks to move, and you really have to be on top of it, keeping the monsters at bay just long enough in order to get your survival to the maximum. Alright folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen has been in prototype form, so keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now with that said, you know, this game is steeped in lore. I love the fact that it came from their RPG world. These creatures are really interesting, how powerful they are, how scary they may be at sometimes, bringing the fear, right? That's their whole goal, is to bring fear to the heroes and stop them. So there's definitely that push and pull in this game for sure. I like that you're always feeling like you're on the edge, just trying, just barely making it past what the enemy or the monsters are doing. And how those monsters level up, that starts to get really desperate at times when they get really high in level and they start encroaching on things, and you battling back and forth with your heroes, because again, you can only take so many of those aberration cards. Your health can only max out so many times before you're going to lose the game. I really like this push and pull aspect in this game though, and I'm a big fan of cooperative games, so this definitely appeals to me. The different heroes and how those different class abilities work just really play into what you're doing. And I like the fact too that even without reading any rules, the class abilities are super clear, super straightforward. You know exactly what you're doing, how you're using those abilities. Same with the items and the aberration cards that you come into play. All those things combined will really help you against all the monsters. But folks, ultimately, if this looks like something of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it for me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.